Good afternoon, everyone. It's August 14th, 2019. I'm Glenn Waleshka, the Regional Coordinator for People's Party of Canada in British Columbia. I'm the guy wearing the black hat, and with me again this evening is Ken Finlayson, our candidate from Kamloops-Thompson-Nicola, just north of here. Ken and I...
We're under attack.
Holy smoke! Sounds like ISIS has landed.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, folks. Again, I'm here with Ken Finlayson, who's the candidate for Kamloops-Thompson-Nicola, and we're going to talk about some of the recent developments that have taken place on the Canadian political scene over the last couple of days and couple of weeks. And we're going to talk about what's good and bad about the political system here in Canada, and we're going to do our best to try to fix it with People's Party of Canada candidates elected in 2019. So welcome, Ken. Oh, I'm the guy wearing the black hat, he's the guy wearing the white hat.
Yeah, I'm the good guy.
He's the good guy, that's right.
I don't know if a politician can be a good guy or not, but we'll give it a shot.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? We're the ones that wear more cowboy hats than anybody else.
Yeah.
Max, every time he goes to Calgary, and we got all sorts of candidates there in Alberta, and
Yeah.
a few of them here. We had a tremendous event down in Kelowna a few months ago.
Yeah.
And we're real happy to have you back, and there's a lot of things that happened this last week that are worth talking about. I guess let's start with the most recent. SNC Lavalin,
Yeah, that's the big
the Ethics Commissioner.
I know, that's the big news today. And as I said earlier, I don't expect it to make a teaspoonful of difference the way this government runs things, because this is the same Prime Minister that not that long ago, well, I think it was early in his mandate, two of his own caucus were alleged to have had some kind of sexual impropriety with women. Right. And our self-righteous feminist Prime Minister said that it didn't matter what the time frame was, what the circumstances was. It was absolutely zero tolerance, and expel both of them from caucus for alleged impropriety. Yeah. Scarcely a few days later, we see an article from the Creston paper where young Trudeau had groped a young lady reporter for the Creston paper. All of a sudden, the same rules don't apply to Justin Trudeau. And I expect we'll see, the same fudge with this SNC Lavalin thing. Like, the law applies to the rest of us, but not the elites. And of course, the elite of all elites is little Lord Fauntleroy, who's in the PM's office. So I think by tomorrow night's news, pretty well Eastern Canada at least will have forgot all about it. And we'll be back to more important things like, gender identity or pronouns. We got to watch them pronouns.
Yeah, we'll probably start talking about Jessica Yaniv later on in our discussion. They is quite an interesting character.
Yeah, we're all they now.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
Yeah.
And for those of you that are wondering, you have heard what sounds like maybe thunder in the background. We're just across the way from Department of National Defense, and they have a bunch of cadets that show up every summer. And I got a hunch they're on the rifle range right about now. So if you hear gunfire, it's not ISIS.
Yeah.
It's not Antifa.
We're not in Chicago.
We're not in Chicago. We're not in Baltimore. Yeah. So we should be safe.
Yeah.
Actually, we're sitting in a beautiful backyard here in Vernon, BC.
Yeah.
Last time we did this, we used an artificial picture of the apricot tree, I think.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to be out here with the actual apricot tree and the cherry tree and with nature.
Yeah. I used to be a truck driver all over North America, and I always think of that little license plate description on the BC license plate. Beautiful BC. And in all my travels through 50 states and 10 provinces, that's the most apt description I ever saw on a license plate. Beautiful BC. They're not kidding.
So we're 10 weeks away from an election?
Yeah.
And we got a Liberal Party that should be in disarray after today, but from the sounds of it, like you said, probably not.
Business as
Eastern
usual.
Canada, they don't care.
No, business as usual. Yeah. Also as usual is, eliminating free speech and censorship, which Maxime Bernier is suffering with these so-called national debates. We're the only party, as far as I know, with, I think we've got 338 candidates.
Well, we get over 312 in place.
312
and we're going
in
to have
place.
all 330.
All right, so we got 312 candidates in place. The NDP are collapsing. In my own riding, just this week, our NDP candidate withdrew.
Yeah.
They're scrambling for candidates. The Green Party from Never Never Land, they're scrambling for candidates. Even the Liberal Party is scrambling for candidates. In fact, what are we at now? 18 MPs have said they're not going to run. And so I'm not sure if it's Miss Gould or Mr. Johnson who made the call that you know, we're not a legitimate political party. We've got more candidates fielded than almost anybody.
Yeah. Conservatives are slightly ahead of us, but it really doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is they're letting in the bloc
Yeah.
who only run candidates.
How does that work?
Right? Don't even run a candidate.
This is supposed to be a
Canada.
national debate
Absolutely.
about Canada's foreign policy.
And if you go back and look at it, they let Preston Manning debate
Yeah.
when the Reform Party started, and
Yeah.
they certainly let Elizabeth Bay debate
Oh,
when the Green Party
yeah.
was trying to get onto the national stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we're way ahead of them in so many respects. We have over 43,000 members,
Yeah.
and we have candidates in almost all the ridings. all across
Twice what the
Canada.
Green Party has.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're the fastest growing political party in Canadian history.
In history.
And we have the message. I mean, it's called a debate for a reason.
Yeah.
If you got three guys and a woman on stage,
Yeah.
and they're all going to be taking the same kind of perspective on issues,
Yeah.
and you got Max Bernier, who's trying to promote the sovereignist
Yeah.
Canadian national identity,
Yeah.
and trying to present a different kind of outlook on immigration, a different kind of outlook on supply management,
On the UN.
a different kind of outlook on the UN, on globalism,
Foreign
a different kind of perspective on trade within Canada and trade outside of Canada. We got somebody here that's looking after the purse strings here in Canada, and they don't want him on the same stage as four people who are going to sit up there and agree with each other, but still tell people to vote for their own color and forget the other three.
Well, you know
Makes
how
no
much sense it makes. We've got a failed insurance salesman, a drama teacher, and a unicorn, and some guy that doesn't even want to be part of Canada on the stage, and we've got the only leader with experience as the Minister of Foreign Affairs. And this debate is about foreign affairs. It's not about unicorns and insurance and drama. It's incredible that they could, and something's really rotten in the state of, not Denmark, but Canada. This is underhanded.
Well, and free speech is not just being affected because of this debate. And, to have a former governor general, who speaks about the importance of these debates so that all Canadians can listen to all perspectives.
Yeah.
And then for him to shut out Maxime
Yeah.
Bernier and the PPC at this point in time is just unconscionable.
Yeah.
But that's not the only way they're shutting down free speech. I mean, we've got $6 million that has been put into a kitty for the media so that we make sure that we promote the liberal and the left point of view on a consistent basis and on a financial basis. Now, I mean, that as well is unconscionable.
Yeah, and we like to make fun of the so-called banana republics, and the way they muzzle free speech and censor their press. And it's bad. It's dangerous. It's horrible.
Well, we used to talk about Pravda in the USSR.
Yeah, we like to point out.
That was the government mouthpiece, and that was the propaganda arm of the government.
Yeah.
I don't see the CBC being any different, and I don't see
different.
CTV and Global being much behind it.
Yeah, well, that's how they get paid.
That's the unfortunate thing. And of course, on top of that, Trudeau is telling people like Twitter and Google
and Facebook
to be monitoring
back
and
off
stopping free speech here in Canada. And again, I can't even believe that somebody else that's based in another country would even listen. But the only reason they're doing it is because they're also on the left.
Well, it's also advertising revenue. Like what he's more or less saying is, we're going to shut you out of Canada if you don't conform to my rules. And of course, it all comes down to money. And Mark Zuckerberg and whoever it is that runs Google.
Yeah.
And you start talking money, they start kowtowing to Trudeau. So we got ourselves a dictatorship here, really.
Well, and that's part of our problem with our Constitution. I mean, the BNA Act wasn't designed to be anywhere near as democratic as what they have in the United States when they built our republic.
That's right.
You know, we have an unelected Senate that does nothing but kowtow to
Yeah, terrible.
the Prime Minister.
Terrible.
We got a Governor General that's nothing but a figurehead and
Yeah.
pretty much does anything the Prime Minister tells him
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
And when we elect a majority,
Yeah.
there is no sober second thought.
No.
There is no chamber of sober second.
And we always elect a majority before it ever gets to the Manitoba-Ontario border, and that's got to change, because if that doesn't change, in fact, Max Bernier is the only leader that's addressing that by reforming the equalization program,
Right.
and that's a first step. And then somewhere down the road, I know for myself as a Western Canadian, one thing I like about our party is that we're allowed to hold divergent views. You know, the various candidates are. And that would be one of my pet peeves, is we need to restructure our government so that the West has a voice. Because this separatist feeling, you know, it's rampant in Alberta and Saskatchewan. It's strong here in BC. Like, and if Max Bernier doesn't get in a position of power, either by forming government or at least holding the balance of power, I'll guarantee you that this Western independence movement is going to turn into a wildfire, and I'll be leading the parade, because we just can't have this anymore. Ever since Confederation, since they cobbled this Confederation together in Charlottetown, tiny Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, total population 135,000, has the same number of senators as British Columbia with millions of people, and they haven't changed it since then. And why would they? You know, they've got all the power concentrated down there, and even worse is the way our parliamentary system works. Ultimately, all the power is concentrated in a little clique in the Prime Minister's office. All those other trained seals down there. In fact, the Conservatives are a good example. Under Andrew Scheer, his first act was to get all his MPs to stand up and vote in favor of the Paris Climate Accord.
Yeah.
Just like a bunch of trained seals. Stand up when I tell you, sit down when I tell you, shut up when I tell you. What kind of representation is that for us?